We're not muted.
He's
We're
not
not.
Alice.
No, not Alice. Not today, anyway.
Are we muted? We're not. He's not Lev, he's not no Yamka. Not Robert Pagan, right? Because that guy's wears a suit. Not Work Wrestling, because he's bald. Did you be Kevin Thompson?
That is me,
Got it.
me in the flesh.
That was a fabulous way to process elimination. huh?
Right, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I had 15 people signed up for my tour this morning. I got,
The rain.
I had four
Porsche, yeah.
I'm fortunate that I went, because sometimes too nice not go. But otherwise I show up.
I'm good. How are you? You were 10 days.
Real rusty, I reckon, open by.
Always.
Love Girl Scout cook. I'm gonna sit up 2 chairs at least.
Will. Mike had him
Oh,
over here.
If you can call him, we could have left him there for an hour and a half.
All right.
Wait a
Good
minute.
thing you- Yeah.
Yes.
You're ready.
Yeah, they are.
I'm just gonna be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many do we have here? Not that we need form, but one, two.
Go, yeah.
Seven.
but online. Anybody?
Mine, yeah, we have Robert, Andrea, Julie.
We're not voting.
No,
So then.
yeah, I'll go ahead.
Who wrote these?
I just want to make sure.
Marisa,
Did you, Earl,
Marisa.
Earl, did you bring these cookies?
Marisa.
Marisa.
Marissa?
Mhm.
Marisa? I don't say her name.
Mhm.
Marisa, but I call her Marissa. Did you get?
Okay, ready to start?
Yes.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is the City Services and Quality of Life Committee of Manhattan Committee Board 5. My name is Tiffany Revis and I'm the chair. We don't have anything to vote on tonight, so we don't need to give you dates for that. We do have 2 things on the agenda. We have HPD with us tonight to give us a presentation on some fabulous topics that we've asked them to come and speak on. And then after that, we'll just have a inter-committee discussion about the subcommittees and upcoming meetings. And that's really it. So take attendance, please. Tiffany Revis.
You're Ron Moody Victor.
Michael.
Mike.
Mike.
What's your name?
My name, my name Michael Kabak.
Melissa Stewart.
Michael Greeley. Will Rothschild.
Kevin Thompson.
Thanks. Online, we have anybody?
Robert Pagan.
Perfect.
Andrea Ing.
I think Julie's there too.
Julie
Okay.
Chang.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, so we're joined tonight by quite a few representatives from HPD, and we're so happy to have you here and presenting with us and taking the time out to spend and see how we can help and get us all updated on topics within our district that need to be addressed and what we can help with. I think there's a few, I don't know who wants to start or who's kind of leading, but go ahead. And again, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And thanks. I don't know if Marisa's here tonight, but I know she had originally invited us. So thank you
Yeah,
for that. Okay. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Joy Reeser. I'm director of the Manhattan Planning Team at HPD, and our team is responsible for bringing affordable housing projects on city-owned sites through ULURP, or public approvals process. So really excited to be here to talk to you about affordable housing, try to answer some of your questions, and touch on some of the programs that HPD offers. And I'm happy to share tonight's presentation and some additional links to resources after tonight's meeting too. I also want to say I'm joined by some other experts from our agency. We have, I'll let them introduce themselves as well, but Renee and Miranda from our Equitable Neighborhood Initiatives team who will be giving the presentation. We have Robel from our Tenant Engagement and Special Projects team to answer more specific questions about housing resources. And we also have Melanie here tonight, who is a planner on my team. So we have about a 15-minute presentation, and then we'll just open it up for questions. But I will pass it to Renee and Miranda at this point.
Great.
Thanks, Joy. Really nice to see some of you in the room there. My name is Renee Widdison. I'm the director of the Equitable Neighborhood Initiatives team. Just wanted to give you a little sense about the Office of Neighborhood Strategies, which is the office everyone you're seeing here tonight is part of. Our office does a lot of things. Joy spoke about public approvals, but one of the things we do is education and training for the public, for community boards, for other groups that are interested in learning about affordable housing. We have some kind of typical trainings that we offer, including a longer Affordable Housing 101 and a Fair Housing 101 training. Tonight, we're going to give a shortened version of the Affordable Housing 101 and then share a little bit about the city's fair housing plan that just came out. But I know there were quite a few specific questions that came through. Not sure all of those are going to be addressed in the presentation, so I just wanted to know if there was any kind of burning question that you wanted us to think about as we present, or we could answer before we get started. Are there kind of specific housing questions we should focus on, or should we just jump into the kind of typical presentation?
I think just jump in. There'll be more questions that arise from that and more topics too. So I think just go ahead and present and we'll write down our questions so we can bombard you later.
Super. Looking forward to it. I'm going to pass it to Miranda. And also just note, we are experts on some things, but not all things. So you might have some detailed questions about specific programs, and we'll just have to get back to you on, but we will do our absolute best to give you answers tonight. So I'm going to share my screen, and then Miranda will take it away.
I heard there were cookies in the room. Is that right?
Girl Scout cookies.
Wow. Sorry, we're missing out on that. Great. So I'm Miranda. I'm a fair housing planner in the Equitable Neighborhood Initiatives team in the Office of Neighborhood Strategies at HPD. So today we're going to be talking about what HPD does as an agency, frame for you all how we as an agency think about New York City's affordable housing crises, and explain how we're working to address those problems as an agency. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with a few minutes on Where We Live NYC, which is the citywide fair housing plan that our team just released in a couple months ago in October. So first, let's talk a bit about what New York City Housing Preservation Development, or HPD, does. So firstly, HPD ensures housing quality by enforcing the city's maintenance code. In 2024 alone, our hundreds of housing inspectors conducted 784,000 inspections and issued 895 violations. So this is a big part of the work that we do as an agency, ensuring housing quality. Secondly, in exchange for maintaining affordability of homes, HPD provides financing and incentives for owners of older buildings with affordable units. And HPD also finances the new construction of homes on both private and public land. And lastly, HPD partners with communities on comprehensive planning with the aim of stabilizing and strengthening neighborhoods to ensure they are diverse and livable. And this is a lot of the work that we do in the Office of Neighborhood Strategies. So in order to understand why HPD focuses on the programs that we do, it's helpful to know how we as an agency think about New York City's overlapping housing crises. So we've broken down this very complex topic into what we see as 4 key housing problems facing our city. Firstly, as I'm sure you were all very aware, housing costs are too high for most New Yorkers. Nearly a third of New York renter households spend over half of their income on rent, or they're severely rent burdened. And the more you pay on rent, the less money you have left over for other essential needs like food, childcare, healthcare, etc. Second, there aren't enough available homes for all the people that want to live in the city. Currently, the citywide vacancy rate is just 1.4%, which is the lowest it's been since the 1960s. And even though it might seem like a lot of development is going on, New York City's housing production has simply not kept pace with its population growth. And this is due to a variety of factors, including rising construction costs, limited vacant land to develop on, zoning restrictions, and opposition to new housing. So this resulting environment gives owners power to raise rents and engage in illegal activity like tenant harassment and discrimination. Third, it's just very expensive to maintain quality housing. And tens of thousands of New Yorkers can't afford rents that just cover basic maintenance costs. Finally, many New Yorkers face limited choice when choosing what neighborhood to live in. This can be the result of affordability, but too often it's also because of discrimination. We see the effects of our city's persistent patterns of residential segregation and racial segregation in phenomena like the construction of new housing and new affordable housing being concentrated in just a few neighborhoods. Often, a lot of new housing production happens in communities that have experienced historic disinvestment, while whiter and more affluent neighborhoods see little to no housing production. So the consequences of these housing crises are all around us, and I'm sure you're all very aware of them. Firstly, a lack of quality, affordable housing pushes many New Yorkers out of their homes and into homelessness. Many people live in very aging and poorly maintained housing, and suffer the negative consequences of that. Some households have to increase their size to accommodate increasing costs, resulting in overcrowding. And many households are rent burdened, spending more on housing to stay where they are. So these are very large and complex issues. So what is the city doing to address these crises? Firstly, we want to help people stay in their homes. HPD works to support tenants through a variety of programs and policies for tenants to make sure they know their rights and can access legal support and rental assistance. Secondly, we also want to help homeowners keep their homes. The city has a variety of programs to help homeowners facing instability, scams, or disrepair, and these programs reduce the costs of homeownership and also connect homeowners to critical information and services. This is, of course, I'm sure something you're familiar with. HPD also tries to tackle the housing crisis by building new affordable housing. HPD finances the construction of new 100% affordable housing on both public and private property. On public sites, HPD engages with the community to define a vision for the site, and then we issue a request for proposals to developers who will then build on that site. If a private property owner is interested in building affordable housing, they can approach HPD for financing as well. HPD also facilitates privately financed affordable housing through zoning and tax incentives, through programs like the mandatory inclusionary housing. And of course, while we're proud of the tens of thousands of units we finance each year, it's important to know that most new housing development occurs without any HPD involvement. We want to talk a little bit more about how we finance new construction. So our financing programs for the construction of new affordable homes can serve a diversity of populations. Some of our developments serve households with a range of incomes. Some are reserved for seniors. Some serve people who need supportive services, such as people currently living in shelter, youth aging out of foster care, domestic abuse survivors, and more. We also finance new income-restricted homeownership opportunities for New Yorkers. So there's a variety of programs to build new housing. And the last tool we want to talk about is preserving affordable housing. This means investing in existing buildings in exchange for long-term affordability. And this is a lot of the work that we do. So since 2014, 174,000 homes have renewed affordability commitments through HPD's preservation finance programs. And the programs include a variety of tools, including low-interest loans, subsidies for rehabilitation and operation, helping nonprofits acquire buildings, and offering homeowner repair loans and other programs. And our preservation projects are targeting the lowest incomes in the city. Half of the preserved homes since 2014 were affordable to households making less than 50% of the area median income, or $70,000 or below for a family of 3 in 2025. So these are like the high level strategies that we use to tackle housing affordability. But what do we mean when we say affordable housing? We categorize affordable housing into 4 types. The first is public housing, which in New York City means homes that are managed by the New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA. Rental subsidy or housing vouchers represent another type. You've probably heard of Section 8 or City FEPS vouchers. The third type is government administered, which is a broad category of housing types where the government is involved in financing or regulating the housing in some way. This category includes buildings that HPD finances or buildings that have to comply with things like MIH mandatory inclusionary housing regulations. And these homes are generally rent stabilized. But that's a little bit different from units that are rent stabilized because they were built before 1974 and because of their age and size are subject to New York State rent stabilization laws. So why do we consider these types of housing affordable? Because they're all governed by a tool that makes or keeps the housing affordable. So there are 3 tools that can be part of affordability protections. The first is income restriction, which is an income-based eligibility that is designed to ensure that affordable units go to the households that need them. The second tool is rent stabilization, which are designed to protect tenants from sudden increases in rent. And the last tool is rent burden protection. That's part of public housing and rental vouchers, and it's the only tool that allows a tenant to pay less rent if their income decreases. Of the 4 types of affordable housing, HPD plays a direct role in government administered housing and rental vouchers. HPD, along with NYCHA, administers Section 8 vouchers, but doesn't administer other types of vouchers. So we've talked a bit and given you sort of the abbreviated version of our Affordable Housing 101 to discuss like what is HPD's role in addressing New York City's housing crises. We also wanted to give you a brief introduction to a project that we've been working on that thinks about housing at a citywide level. So this is Where We Live, New York City 2025, which is New York City's Fair Housing Plan. Fair housing means everyone in New York has the opportunity to live in a safe, stable, and affordable home in the neighborhood of their choice. And to accomplish this, we've developed this citywide plan to confront segregation, fight discrimination, and take action to advance opportunity for all. Before we talk about this plan, we just wanted to talk a bit about what fair housing is. As many of you may know, the Federal Fair Housing Act was first passed in 1968 as a result of decades of civil rights organizing and the recognition that racial segregation was widespread and deeply harmful. For the first time, as a result of this legislation, it became illegal in the US to discriminate when renting, buying, or securing financing for a home based on your race, color, religion, or national origin. In the 70s and 80s, sex, disability, family status were added to federal housing protections. And the Fair Housing Act also requires that the government confront segregation through affirmatively furthering fair housing. We're lucky to live in a city that have added to this list of federally protected classes. In New York City, we're protected from discrimination based on source of income, such as if we use a rental voucher, as well as age, gender expression, citizenship, and as of January 2025, criminal record. So Where We Live, New York, NYC is our citywide fair housing plan. Extensive data analysis, public and stakeholder engagement, and partnerships with other government agencies helped to form the goals and strategies of the first plan, which was released in 2020. And a couple of months ago, we released the first 5-year update to this plan, building off of significant progress made since 2020. Where We Live NYC 2025 includes 20 strategies to advance our 6 overarching goals with specific commitments from a long list of government partners as a part of each strategy. So the plan released in 2020 established 6 foundational goals to ground the very long-term work to further fair housing in New York City. Our goals in 2025 remain to address discrimination and our inadequate housing supply, prevent displacement, improve opportunities for rental voucher holders and people with disabilities, and work to ensure all neighborhoods are great places to live. We want to share just a few key commitments of over 60 that are included in the plan. To fight housing discrimination, we're planning to expand paired testing investigations in the housing market to identify illegal discrimination. To promote development in all New York City neighborhoods, we're working to train community boards, civic organizations, and elected officials on the city's responsibility to affirmatively further fair housing. That's our Fair Housing 101 training. And we will launch the city's voluntary housing mobility program in areas prone to severe flooding. We'll also work to fight for continued and expanded access to Section 8 vouchers, work to find solutions to make existing buildings accessible to people with mobility disabilities, and work to improve neighborhood conditions in areas where the city has invested significantly in affordable housing. And again, these are just a few of the 60 plus commitments, which we encourage you to share on to explore on our website, which is nyc.gov/wherewelive. We also wanted to highlight for you all that the Where We Live plan just forms a part of the city's fair housing framework, which was codified in Local Law 167 of 2023. And over the next year, we'll be working in collaboration with other city agencies to produce 3 additional reports, including a long-term housing needs assessment, which is a citywide assessment of the city's housing needs, housing production targets, which will set targets as the city housing production targets for both the city and each community district, and a strategic equity framework, which will work to assess the obstacles to fair housing and identify strategies to overcome them. These efforts will include opportunities for public engagement, and we'd love to have your involvement and input throughout this process. On our website, there's a button to subscribe to our mailing list. So please, when you check out our website to look at the plan, please subscribe so that we can keep you updated on further engagement opportunities. So that's our presentation. We're really looking forward to hearing some of the more specific questions that you all have, and hope that this is good grounding for that conversation.
Great, thank you so much for that. And Renee, I just messaged you to ask you if you could email me that fair housing presentation, because I didn't get that before the meeting. So that presentation, we didn't have a chance to kind of look over before tonight's meeting, which I think there probably is quite a few questions on fair housing and with the program that just passed a couple months ago. But I will let committee members start to ask questions. Go ahead, Yaron.
Thanks for this. This is really informative. I have 2 questions, and let me just give the context for the first question. So, this obviously there's a lot that you guys do about affordable housing supply increasing. You know that this isn't the land use committee, so we don't really take that angle on it, but we are very interested in programs that are available to connect people who need affordable housing with affordable housing, and to help people in affordable housing stay there. So, and you went through some of that. So my question is, what are some of the main ways that you proactively get the word out and educate people about the rights they have, or about the programs that are available to them, the ways that they can, find and access affordable housing, and are there parts of that we as a community board can pull back?
Yeah, I'm happy to just kick it off. A lot of folks here do a lot of education and outreach, so would love your support in helping get the word out. I'm just going to tag one website that I'll make sure you're aware of. There's an events website or web page on HPD's website that shows upcoming events for, the coming months. And these include things around deed theft, tenants' rights, housing court, dealing with pests, rental housing discrimination. So some of these are HPD, some of these are also, I think, the City Commission on Human Rights. So definitely recommend you, stay, apprised of that website, and check out upcoming events. Some of them are in person, but many of them are virtual. So that's just one place you can look, but want to give others a chance to weigh in as well.
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. I'm gonna send it by
Tiffany will
email.
send it around.
Yeah.
The
Thank
link
you
is
for
in the chat. I don't know if I have anything much more to add to that. I know Robel's team does a lot of outreach as well. I don't know if you want to add anything, but I think that is probably the best place to look. I did notice there aren't any upcoming in Manhattan, but if you think you want a resource event, or just have questions about what sort of classes could be available to your community, just let us know.
I have a second
Yep.
question. And my second question was,
Go ahead.
Thank
Who
you.
is it?
oh,
Hi,
sorry.
yes,
Oh,
thank
so
you.
much.
No, I just wanted to add, as my colleague said, my name is Robel Taklav. I'm with the Tenant Engagement and Special Projects team. And questions seem to be very tenant focused. So first and foremost, I personally do teach tenant rights class for those who are in their existing homes and on how to stay in their existing homes. But two, for some folks who may need assistance with affording whatever home they're in or trying to get into a new one, we have various vouchers. You all may be aware of Section 8, but the city also has a very generous program called City FEPS that helps people afford rent amount, and they're always increasing. But they both require they have the same standards. The only difference being the city funds the City FEPS program and the federal government funds the Section 8 program. Third, what I would add is access to and having them be registered in the Housing Connect system, which is administered by HPD. And if you do need further education on that, HPD's marketing team is willing to come to any meeting you request to teach people about what it's like to go through the process of applying and accessing, the affordable houses housing that are available through the lottery system. Hope that helps.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. And my second question was just a pretty general one, which is, what can community boards do to help your work? You were mentioned on one of the slides here as a key audience for some of your education. Are there examples of community board engagement that you've had that have been very successful? Like what can we do here? Besides budget advocacy, which we do annually, are there other things?
That's a great question. I don't know, if Renee has a better answer. I think sharing these resources, we're here tonight. We're happy to share links with you. Just kind of spreading the word about these resources is always the best bet. I don't know if Renee, you were going to say anything different, but I think that's a really nice question.
Yeah, really appreciate the offer. Could definitely use all the help we can get. I think absolutely spreading the word. I think also, it can be complicated because there are so many resources. And so I think partly it's about connecting people with the right resources. So I think if you all have a specific question about a need in your neighborhood and you want to host or co-host an event, or you want to advocate to your council member, for example, or your borough president that maybe they should host an event about a topic. There's also an HPD van that travels around the city called HPD in your neighborhood, and there's sort of a van with resources there that people can walk up and get kind of direct referrals. So there are a lot of resources. And I think it's really about what you think would be helpful for your neighborhood and connecting with us. And then also it is really helpful to get the word out by connecting with elected officials because we don't have the email address of every New Yorker. So we do our best to, email blasts, and we have social media, but there are a lot of gaps in us connecting with people. So, whether that's on your local Link NYC or your email list, getting the word out through your networks and through elected officials in your district. on the kind of resource side. I will say, you know, I know you're not the zoning or land use committee, but I think community board support for affordable housing is always very welcome and needed because there are, you know, a lot of concerns about development and a lot of concerns about affordable housing in various parts of the city and community boards that are supportive and, you know, you can be skeptical and ask questions and engage with us. But ultimately, if community boards that are supportive of the goals of kind of expanding affordable housing can be really, really helpful, both for projects in your district, but also projects in other districts of your borough. And just saying, you know, these are borough-wide and citywide issues and we all need to contribute.
Right, thank you.
I think that before I just want to jump in and say one thing that is helpful for us too is to have the resources. And we're trying to find ways to have the information out there to our community too, which the one way is to have links on our community board website. And so if there's any specific resources or things contributing to quality of life and affordable housing, which this committee represents, then we'd be happy to be able to have that on the websites too. So that's a way that people can in the district can find what they need as well. So that's really helpful. And then also we reach out to you guys and ask you so much to come and speak with us. And if there's really anything that you find specifically that CB5 area can help with, if something does come up, then we are always happy to have that information and be there for you guys too when you know something we can help with. So go.
Yeah, how does the new the mayoral change affect the HPD's staff? Now, I'm not talking about like senior or maybe senior first, and then, you know, to real support staff. How would that slow down your process? I mean, you are slow as it is, and it's just not my words, just everybody, including market rate developers, nonprofit, affordable housing developers have timelines issues.
I can try to answer that. So the question was about how the new admin will sort of change timelines for affordable housing delivery and affect our agency. I'll say the incoming administration seems to be very pro-housing, which I think is helpful. We're not anticipating any cuts to our staff at this point. And we don't really see any sort of change in staff during admins, aside from, you know, the commissioners and high level staff that you mentioned. So we're feeling pretty good about that. And in addition to that, we just had the ballot measures that were passed. One is introducing ELR, which actually really speeds up the process for developing affordable housing, especially for sites that are just dispositioned where the city is selling the land to a developer to create 100% affordable housing. So I think there's a lot of positives that we're looking forward to in the new year, and we're feeling optimistic.
Can we help as a community board 5 address some of your needs as an organization? Staffing, maybe, you know, I don't know. Can our voice be heard on your levels? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. I don't know if I've ever gotten that from a board. I know the community board budget requests are definitely something that the agency pays attention to. So I think starting there makes the most sense. That's a really good platform for sort of prioritizing how you feel money should be spent in the city and in your neighborhood.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
That's something a little off topic and a little personal to me. How is it you need to qualify to get this apartment, right? With the special income requirements. I'm 5 years from when I start occupying that apartment. My status has changed. I got a better job. How is that person or family get reassessed on that unit? Or is there a mechanism right now to do that? And if not, why not?
Are you asking, just so I understand, is the question about someone applying for a unit on the lottery?
Yeah,
Usually when someone applies for the lottery, it shouldn't be 5 years until they sort of,
assume that I got the apartment, now I'm living in this apartment. I was making $70,000, occupying one bedroom. 3 years from today, my job status changed. I got $150,000
got it.
salary. Now, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, for better or worse, some people would say this is a really great thing. Your rent, when a unit on the,
My personal.
when you lease a unit from the housing lottery, the rent becomes a rent stabilized rent. And you are no longer needing to income qualify for that unit. Once you've qualified to lease the apartment, it's now an apartment that you have a rent stabilized lease. And if your income goes up, then that just means your rent burden goes down.
I own the apartment.
What's that?
I own the apartment. That's what it means? I'm just curious, like, how is it?
So there is no income requalification
Yeah.
once you're in the unit. So if your income goes down, your rent also does not go down, if we're talking about units from the housing lottery.
I think these units need to be recycled to address the real needs of affordability in the city. That's just what I'm thinking.
I see.
I guess, can you explain maybe a little bit more about how rent stabilization in affordable housing is monitored? Because people's circumstances do change. So how is it monitored? Maybe there's someone else is doing, better and or on their feet a little bit better, but then there's a handful of people who need the help that they were receiving. So how are these monitored? Yeah, if you can kind of explain a little bit that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the approach to new construction of affordable housing is that we're creating, we're subsidizing through the financing, the construction of the building, and we're setting the rents at affordable levels. And then we are trying to create stable housing for people. So we're not trying to kick someone out in 2 or 3 years if their income changes. I can appreciate the idea that, you want to make those units available to more people, but we also don't want to be creating new people who need housing. So essentially, until that unit no longer meets that person's needs, they have a stable place to live, which is, ultimately the goal of the agency is to provide stable, quality housing for people.
And there's not a deadline. There's not a timeline like 20 years or 25 years. It's as long as that person who has obtained affordable housing, they're allowed to keep that housing.
Stay there forever.
Is that correct? Just wanted to.
Yeah, I will say there are a lot of nuances here because there are different kinds of projects and buildings. But in general, for a project on the lottery, it's going to be a rent stabilized unit for if it's a building that has been financed with an HPD program. There's a regulatory agreement, which is basically the restrictions on that developer and building owner for a set period of time, 30 years or something. The idea is that we've built the loans and the financing in such a way that that owner will come back and renew their regulatory agreement with HPD. So the stabilized rents will continue. But the person entering the unit, there's no deadline on them needing to be kicked out because they've started making too much money. There are, and if it's a mandatory inclusionary housing project, those units are permanently affordable and rent stabilized. There's no regulatory agreement that will expire. So that's just one of the nuances. So there are, a lot of kind of details in there, but as a general principle, you get into the unit, and you are in that unit as long as you would like to be, with a rent stabilized lease.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, if I could just go back to the first example you just shared, just for clarity. So is it a policy that has been derived by HPD, or is it a policy that is centered in a local law, a state law, where does the authority to, sort of allow a person to take a stabilized unit and then inhabit the unit in perpetuity, basically? Where does that authority come from? I don't, by the way, disagree with what, with the policy. I think it's good policy, but I am curious to understand where the authority is derived.
Okay, I can speak to that. So that comes from the state. That's a New York State policy. And the rent stabilized units are also registered with the New York State Housing Department. So they're monitored via the state, via the city. And I think we're one of the only states, someone fact check me, that does have rent stabilization in the country. So it is something we're also very proud of.
So just to clarify, it's codified in statute or is it a regulatory issue?
I'm not sure what the difference is. I can get back to you on that, but it's New York State law.
Legislature say this is, did they pass a law and say this is what the law of the state of New York will be?
Yeah,
I'd be interested in knowing.
I do believe the original rent stabilization laws passed in the 70s were laws. I don't know if the law
Got it.
defines all of these, but to Joy's point, we're talking about, a rent stabilized lease comes with certain protections.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Nice presentation. And I read over the 44 pages that Tiffany sent to us, and I was just curious about, you have X number, I forget the number of inspectors who were going around and they served Y squared number of summonses or whatever you call them about landlords who are not keeping their buildings in a way that you deem respectable. And those summonses were issued. How is the enforcement of that carried on? Okay, landlord, every once in a while we read about some real gone up bad guy who's really terrible, doesn't replace the plat, but there's so many more on the border. How do you enforce the leaky pipes and the molds and the stuff like that that we see on television in the worst case scenario? And I'm not talking about the one guy who ends up going to jail. I'm talking about the other 3,500 landlords who aren't up to par.
So I can start with this. Happy to have others kind of
In here.
chime in. So our enforcement staff typically responds to 311 calls. That's sort of how we keep records of these types of issues. And so once someone places a 311 call, depending on what the issue is, an HPD inspector may be sent out. I also want to mention that there are DOB code enforcement staff as well, who look at other issues. I don't know if other folks on the call have more information, but that's my understanding.
Good start, Joy. Pretty much our code enforcement folks are, they're guided by the 311 calls, and they prioritize those, and that's the standard system. But they do have, depending on the violation, whichever code is violated, whether the types of violations are emergency related or something that could wait a few days, they do prioritize by that level. And they have an ABCD system that rates the level of violations. And there are some issues that are building wide versus individual unit issue that they prioritize by as well. If the violations are so egregious and immediate repair needs to be done, we do have a system where our agency ends up doing the repair itself under the emergency repair system, and then bill the landlord if they're not willing to do it as fast as possible. That is not preferable, and then as an agency, but it does end up happening oftentimes if the violations are so egregious and it and it must be repaired as quickly as possible. Other than that, when 311 calls are made, first thing the inspectors do is call the landlord and ask them, we've gotten this type of report. What are your plans to repair it? And if they do repair it, good. If they don't, we wouldn't know yet, but then we contact the tenant or whomever reported the issue, and we verify if the repair has indeed been done. If it is reported back to us that the repair has not been done, then our inspector goes in person and inspects and would issue violations if it has not been indeed addressed. If it has been addressed, then the issue would be a non-issue. But this chain continues, and sometimes I'll just mention here, there may be some communications about inspection time. Our inspectors may go to locations dependent on what makes sense by where they are that day and so on. And sometimes notification may not be given to a particular tenant to arrange for time for the first instance. But our inspectors do leave a note if they don't find whomever is on location that is supposed to let them in. And I would just add here, like, they do prefer people to report fearlessly by giving out their names and their units, but people can also report anonymously. At any rate, they will go back and inspect, having left a contact information for scheduling a date to inspect that is convenient to the tenant. I hope I haven't confused you by giving out too much information in detail, but hopefully that's helpful, and happy to answer some more details.
Great. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Partially.
Partially.
My question is, what kind of an enforcement? So you give them a citation and you give them a thing. Does somebody come down and beat them up or send them to jail?
Well, the jail part you already know, but there are a few steps that have to go through, and one of them is we sue them. We have lawyers in the agency that whose job is that. If the landlord is not indeed following through and paying up for the violations, then HPD enforces it by taking them to court. I realize that's not a very quick, but it is, landlords know it. It is a form of deterrence, if you will, because the penalty after you go to court is not that cheap. Whether it's cost of attorney or even the actual penalty. And trust me, we don't go to court unless we actually have all the evidences that we're going to win. And the winning rate on our side is very, very high. So it's a deterrence.
Great.
But we don't send them to jail without having gone through these steps.
That
Understood.
pesky due process thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. You had any other questions? Somebody else a question before I go to the public?
Yeah, I had a question. Could you speak a little bit about what is being done to encourage and support not only affordable rental housing, but affordable home ownership? People buying their homes. I know I recently learned about HDFCs in the city, which I believe there are over 1,000 of them, these income restricted co-op buildings. And I know, I mean, for a lot of people, still the dream is to own their home. And so what is being done to support that?
You
Yeah,
guys have-
Happy to speak to that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, there are a variety of tools in the toolbox, and I think it was mentioned in the slides, but we do actually build new affordable home ownership projects. So if you go on the housing lottery, they're not nearly as common for a variety of reasons. One of which is that they are more expensive for us to finance and subsidize. And so there are questions about, the resources that we're spending and the number of people we can help with those resources, but absolutely recognize that affordable homeownership is an important wealth building tool, an opportunity for a lot of New Yorkers that, gives them access to the housing market in a new and an important way. There's also a program that has just been expanded called the Home First program. That's a down payment assistance program. So instead of building new ownership projects and then doing a lottery, we just help prospective home buyers who are eligible by income and are buying their first home with $100,000 of down payment assistance. And it used to be a $40,000 down payment assistance, and it's now up to 100,000. So that's a way that we are helping, and that we've, I want to say all 5 boroughs, folks have purchased homes using that down payment assistance program. So it's been going on for many, many years and has been expanded to try to be more helpful, recognizing how expensive the housing market is today. So those
Great,
are kind of
thanks.
2 of the key pieces. Yeah.
Is that? You having good?
Thank you.
No problem.
I will just add here, future plans a bit to perhaps get it a little more energy as far as home ownership is concerned. We have this zombie homes program that our sister team works on, which is we try to make sure that homes whose owners have vacated that are now in foreclosure or are owned by the lenders, first of all, are maintained well, but a long-term plan is that those homes are purchased by us through various funding sources, but eventually we would do the necessary repairs and put them back into the affordable home stocks, where people then can purchase them at affordable home rates. The other option that the numbers have gotten fewer, but the old TEAL program you may be aware of has transformed into the HPD's ANCP program, which administers it. But there are some homes that are also available that are convertible to affordable homes and co-ops through the HDFC program.
Great, thank you for that information. Anybody else have a first question before? Okay, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so I'm curious, when people are able to secure Section 8 or city FEPs, what is the success rate for those folks getting a rental property? Do they have a hard time finding one through for reasons of discrimination? And if so, I mean, does that happen a lot? And if so, what does HPD do to combat that issue?
Do you want me to take it, Renee?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess I'll just start by saying it's a huge issue, something we think a lot about, particularly with our fair housing work. And I'm going to drop in the chat a link. We actually just made a documentary last year with the youth-led documentary group about active discrimination, talking to 4 New Yorkers who've been experienced discrimination, and one of the folks who were highlighted was experiencing voucher discrimination. So I'll drop that in the chat. Really recommend you all check it out. But Rebel, go ahead.
Yeah, excellent. So we have 2 agencies. HPD is a little less so on this, but New York City's Commission on Human Rights takes up a lot of this discrimination related issues. And there's a robust funding as well at the Office of Civil Justice that is housed within the Department of Social Services. So any source of income, by the way, it is a protected class status in fair housing among the various lists that are specific to New Yorkers, New York City particularly. It's one of the protected class status that came up around 2019, I believe. And so we do have two agencies whose job it is to enforce those laws and prevent people from discriminating, but we are aware that it happens. It does help for folks to work with teams, particularly in the mayor's public engagement unit, particularly the home support team that helps people find units within the city. And there are now, it's been 10 years since they've been doing this work. And there's now a decent pipeline of brokers and landlords who register their apartments with that team, which then turns and avails those apartments to folks in the shelter currently, or in their community, but either way are in need of using their voucher.
Yeah, I'll just add that, it's really wonderful that we have some of these programs that we've improved good relationships with landlords and brokers that are not discriminating. But the reality is you should be able to use your voucher anywhere. And so, not to hammer too much on this point, but as Miranda mentioned in the presentation, it is very clear that the constrained housing supply is part of the reason so many people with vouchers have such a hard time finding a place to live, because there's just incredible competition for every unit out there. And so landlords just goes, 20 or 30 candidates, don't give them any reason why they can't rent. Even someone whose voucher would cover the rent, would provide a regular source of income for that unit, but for whatever reason, that landlord doesn't want to deal with the voucher or deal with that tenant. And so that's part of the story we think it's important for New Yorkers to think about with when it comes to increasing housing supply, is trying to make it less lucrative for landlords to be discriminatory.
Does that help, folks? I know you had some questions before about some local bills that had gone.
Yeah, I did see that there were some bills before the assembly regarding this. Do you guys have any opinion on that? Are you aware of those laws? Do you think that would be helpful, or what else do you think, other than creating more supply, which I think we all support, what else do you guys think could be helpful? Does it need to be a legislative solution, or do we need more staff and HPD or what do you guys think?
I think this is one of those all of the aboves. As Robel mentioned, enforcing the law if there is a case of discrimination isn't something HPD does. That's the Commission on Human Rights. They are receiving more staff, but definitely that commission has been understaffed historically for many years, and it has been a huge challenge. It's also, these are just very difficult cases, to be honest, because you have to have, a record of the discrimination, and it's very hard to prove that in an affirmative way. So I think the more that tenants can know their rights, we also are doing a lot more education of brokers and landlords, and also trying to figure out ways to make the engaging in leasing to a tenant holder less onerous. The city recognizes there are some administrative burdens on landlords, and so that make it less appealing. And so the city's trying to handle some of those things as well. So I'm not familiar with that legislation. I think there are kind of policy programmatic things at the local level and a lot of education.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Mike, let me just go to online and then we'll get to some other comments. So Theo, I'm gonna unmute you and can ask your question. Theo? No, maybe nothing.
You hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, got you now.
Hello,
ahead.
hi. My name is Theo Chino. I wasn't going to testify on HPD, but actually hearing the HPD presentation, I am a victim of the stuff that HPD has been talking about. And the problem I wanted to give you, since you ask all the right question, is to make myself available to the committee if they want to know what happened when a building is transferred to the TIL program, to the third party transfer, and there is no really oversight by HPD. So to answer the question of the gentleman that was mentioning what HPD could do, the For Freedom Democratic Club had a resolution about calling for greater transparency in the PLP HPD program. And basically, it comes down to a political thing, is we need to stop commodifying, trying to make money out of the nonprofit housing stock that is available in New York City. So we started several websites called showthebook.org to ask the city and HPD and the nonprofit to show the books where the money is going. We have started lashitlist.org to call out the politician that says they care about housing, but they don't do anything, and things like that. So if you have any questions for me, I would love to answer that. It's a topic that I could go on for 6 hours, but unfortunately, I don't think you want to be here for that long. But all your questions were very good, and we can talk on that topic at length later on. Thank you very much for the opportunity to just speak.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you. Also in the public, we have Charles. I'm gonna unmute you now and allow you to talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. A few questions. Regarding the housing lotteries, I noticed, and I've been on the lottery for a while, and I mentioned before to CV5, the fact that there doesn't seem to be a lot of housing available for people whose only income is SSI, fixed income. I was just wondering, how often do those units come about with the lottery? And is there a lot of, how much stock is there for people on SSI? I was also wondering about the enforcement you were talking about. For example, with my unit, there's been dangerously hot water, and I've had inspectors come for 2 years now and nothing's changed. So I was wondering, like, for unsafe conditions, does the enforcement change, or does it just have ongoing inspections? And I was going to say, I live in subsidized housing here in the district of CV5, and there's 416 units and tenants who are all on SSI and welfare, and they would love to have engagement with HPD. I think someone said they were the tenant engagement person. So if there's a way the board could maybe reach out to me to help me arrange something. I know a lot of tenants would love to hear about how they can keep their units, keep in good standing with their rent and things like that, and have other questions and things like that. This would be the the type of building that would really benefit with that. So yeah, those are my comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anybody want to comment on any of those questions of Charles?
Yeah, I guess I'll just say, definitely reach out. We can organize some kind of tenant education event and check out the resources online and see if there's maybe a specific training you'd like, or you can just kind of work with Robel or our other colleagues. When it comes to the lottery, I would just note that the lottery eligibility is typically just income. I mean, there are other things that can disqualify you, but being on a fixed income is not does not disqualify you. So as long as you're qualifying by income for the units, and now if you're saying that your income is, you don't qualify for the units, we should talk about, it's kind of that separate issue, but just want to make sure that that's clear.
Thank you. Anybody else on the committee have questions? No, we're good. Oh, okay, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so I read the AM New York, the free paper. You guys know about it, yes? And oftentimes I notice that there are lists and lists of available housing, mostly in the Bronx, sometimes in Queens. I look at them, shows how much money you can earn to live in these houses. if you're a family, if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4 occupants, is that put out by you guys? Do you, are you responsible for getting the word out? And how are these ads, being received by the public?
Sorry, you said ads for specifically for affordable housing?
Yeah, I think the lottery listings.
Okay, yeah, typically, I think there's a requirement to have those printed in the paper along with being posted online. I'm sorry, I might have missed the rest of your question.
He was just asking is besides just seeing that in a local like daily paper, how is it that you're able to get that out to the public? He sees it in that paper, but what's the process of you getting it out there in that form and even I believe more?
If there are
More
so many,
avenues.
if there are so many people waiting online, how is it possible to have a list yay long of available spaces for rent? Why aren't they taken up in a flash?
I mean, they certainly are. I think the average number of applicants we get for any project is about 16,000 people. And obviously there's not enough housing for all of those applicants. So yeah, we do print them in the newspaper, we post them online. We have, I know Renee had shared the events page. We do online classes on applying to the housing lottery. And then we also have some folks called housing ambassadors that are typically geographically based and can also help folks with applying to the housing lottery. I'm not sure if they share the information about open lottery, but that's all very accessible on our website.
Can I follow up with that?
Sure.
Are those advertisements, those notices of availability taken to the shelters, to the people who frequent the shelters and watch over the people in the shelters, present those people who might be able to afford some of these places? Are they made aware of it? How does that work?
That's a great question. That I'm not sure about, but I will say all of our new construction affordable housing has a 15% requirement for formerly homeless New Yorkers or residents generally. And those placements happened through the Department of Homeless Services.
You said 15% of new construction?
Yes, yeah, yes. So any new buildings that you're seeing, there is that requirement.
Yep, and you just wouldn't see those units online because they're basically set aside outside of the lottery for direct placement from shelter.
Okay, so not when you see, it'll say so many goes to X amount of this disability or this amount of something else, those are already just accounted for.
Correct.
Any question?
Sure, and then we'll wrap.
What is the timeline between unit become available on the lottery and by the time it gets occupied? Let's put it this way. And what is the requirement by HPD? Or there is a requirement to occupy those units? That's a question.
Yeah, I can check more with our marketing team on that, on the exact timeline. My understanding is that it does take a couple of months because there's the income qualification that Renee mentioned, and then some just paperwork that I know we request and our team reviews. So there's some oversight on that. But yeah, I can get more specific information for you if that's of interest.
Helpful, and if there's anything that we could do to streamline the process, we understand that that is like it's not a 1 or 2 month process.
I'll just note that I appreciate the offer. The process of when you see a lottery posting online and applications can start coming in, that's before the building is open. So there is, there is an attempt to, once it's clear when the building will be complete, start doing the lottery. They try to sort of stagger it to get people ready and processed by the time there's a certificate of occupancy, but you know, there's inevitably delays. You got to go through everybody in the lottery as they come up, and it will take some longer than others to review their paperwork and check eligibility. So they try as best they can to sequence it so the units are getting filled up as soon as possible.
Yeah, if we could see a data showing what the typical, I mean, I don't know,
Are you asking the timeline,
Yeah.
typical timeline for an applicant to receive
Yeah.
housing?
based on the past experiences.
I hesitate to give you a particular timeline, but I will say that, and I don't know, there have been some improvements made. You may be aware that, for example, last May, HPD had changed its re-rental process. Basically, not the newly available new building units, but units in the affordable category that were rented out by people, but then vacated. We used to put them into the lottery system. And last May, we changed that, and now they go into the market. Their price does not change, but how it is done has changed because of some dissatisfactions with the stringent paperwork and their red tape that was keeping those re-rentals from going to the people that need them.
Robert, question?
Yes, so hi everyone. A number of years ago, I was an advocate for a disabled senior who had applied and got called for one of those lottery apartments. However, they flew through the process, was about to get the apartment until they received the landlord letter. They lived in a Mitchell Lama housing complex co-op, and they were denied based on they could not own property within 100 miles of NYC. So this is a senior who, in the Mitchell Lama Co-op, there were 35% increases, like regularly, and could, you know, was being priced out of living in that affordable home, and the apartment that they were going to get was a rental that would have been much more affordable, but they would ultimately turn down. Has that been updated?
Yeah, that's a really tough story. I'm sorry to hear
It's a
about
it's a
that.
catch-22 because the you know, Mitchell Lama is not true home ownership. I mean, I think the person paid $3,000 for the apartment, right? And they get the same $3,000 back 25 years later if they even decide to leave. But they were being priced out because of the 35% increases.
Yeah, I know that the policy of, you know, having certain assets has not changed. And I haven't heard of this particular issue with kind of Mitchell Lama ownership, but I'm happy to share that and try to get more information about it. It's a great flag. But I think
Yeah,
it's
because I
what
mean,
it's trying to do is, you know, if somebody owns a home and lives in their home, trying to, you know, not prioritize them in the lottery, but can absolutely appreciate why the case of your friend was really disappointing.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else before we let these wonderful people go? Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. This is so helpful for us, and we really just want to continue to offer our support and our help, and however that can be in our district. Just, you know, reach out to myself in the board office. And I copied all the links. I'll send them out to everybody in this committee. And try to get some things posted on our website to get people resources, and anything you can think of how we can help, please just let us know as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Pleasure being here.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you. Tiffany, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
What is the reason, or how does the provenance happen that these folks were invited to make a presentation to a community board that doesn't really have a lot of that in it?
Because it's still
We
part
asked
of our
them?
community. We asked them,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. So with our subgroups and what we decided, we really want to support our community. that's what we're focusing on, getting those relevant agencies, to speak to us. So when, we need to, or when we can help serve those in our district that do need this support, that we have that information for, so we can be their resource as well.
Thanks.
So yeah, I asked HPD to come and talk about as many of these components as they could. Okay. It's a good question. Okay. That's all we had on our actual agenda with, outside of our other components. I just want to talk about the different, subcommittees and kind of what's going on and, our schedule. So, with public safety, I don't know if who's all on that committee that's here right now? I haven't. Mike, you
Which?
public safety,
I don't know which police.
the police, let me see. Well, it's for the police, resources. Wait, hold on. So I know who we have. Oh gosh. I'm pulling through all of them. And public safety is Mike Greeley, Lev, Alice, Annie, David Shapiro, and Kay back if he wants to. And so the reason I'm asking is because we have 3 precincts that that are within our district, and with the public safety component that we're really trying to support, on this committee board, within our community, a lot of the information that we need to help our community is given through these monthly meetings at the police precincts. But they do give, and one of the reasons why we changed our meetings to Wednesdays is because these meetings typically are on Tuesdays, and we're falling on the same time that we had our meeting. Midtown South and Midtown North generally does them online. The 13th precinct, which is more southeast in our district, that one's in person most of the time. But I really would ask who is in this subcommittee to have one person assigned to each precinct. We're not really going to get very far with public safety if we're not getting out there and getting the information we need to figure out how we can help. So Mike Greeley's on Midtown South. Oh, North, sorry. And we thought David Shapiro was on the 13th, but he's not here. I'll have to reach out to him. So of the people that I just listed, the only person here in person is left.
Sorry.
Are you willing to?
I'm not sure. I think I'm just like really involved with everything else, so. I don't mind, but.
Which area
What do I tell my
do you
wife?
live in or work in?
It's like, "Lev, where are you every night?"
No, it's once a month. It's only 1 hour. It is, I promise it's not time consuming. It is informative.
And Midtown South online.
Midtown South is online.
I think probably the one that in person is probably harder to fill, not so much.
Yeah, of course.
So the one in person, where is it located?
The 13th precinct is, I have everything down.
It's by Union Square.
Yeah, it's by Union Square. I sent it out.
Can I
We're gonna
suggest
say
that-
something, you're on.
No, I'm just gonna suggest that instead of maybe asking for a more long-term commitment, that we at least try to get like the January meetings
Yes.
covered, and then we sort of see.
When is the January meeting of
Yeah,
the
so
Midtown
maybe-
South?
Okay, I sent out all the dates to everybody that's on this
Yeah.
committee. I sent out a very extensive email, so these were easily answered.
Totally.
Yeah,
I would
go
just say that Midtown North and the 13th is both on December 16th. And we have our meeting on December 16th. And then the following
Right, but then we
Tuesday is
shift.
Midtown
Yeah.
South.
Right.
Mhm.
What's
So there-
the date of that following?
So the Midtown South.
I need to
is
go back
over-
to my I need to go back to my email that I sent. So I can tell you.
Well, they're probably gonna change it because the following Tuesday is the 23rd. I don't know, they're gonna do it on the 27th.
I'll be in Barbados.
Ooh.
Fine, I was gonna,
You can Zoom.
I was gonna volunteer for that, believe it or not.
It's the fourth Tuesday at 6:30.
Yeah, that's the 23rd.
Right, so I think maybe.
That one might not be
Yeah,
happening.
so I
I'm
would
assuming.
think more about January. So-
Yeah.
So it looks like there's so.
Okay, yeah, I have my email that I had
Okay,
sent out.
so the fourth Tuesday in January is the 27th of June.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We have a landmark.
okay,
I do.
okay. So if someone could commit to it,
Yes.
to just not long-term, but just a January 27th at 6:30. That would be great because the next day this committee meets.
Yeah.
And so it would be great to come to that meeting.
And that is our agenda is.
And this
public
is a
safety
virtual
updates.
meeting that we're discussing. I
Yeah.
think.
And
Midtown South.
to get,
Midtown South. is
and to
virtual,
get
yes.
an invite, to get the link to the we have to go through Marissa to get
Yeah.
the email.
Yeah, she'll give you the email, then you send the
have to
link and they send it directly to you. They don't just share it. So whoever is it has to be like assigned because the email goes directly to you to get the link to join these. So is anybody on this committee available to do the 27th
Of January.
of January
Yep,
And I'll be from Midtown South.
yep.
for Midtown South? Mike, when's your meeting? January,
Landmark.
January
Right here.
20th will be
On the
the
27th.
Midtown North and the 13th.
Lev, do you think you could do that? It's
Which one?
it's it's just remote. It's
Virtual
just a
meeting
virtual.
on January
Mhm.
27th.
When is it?
January.
January 27th.
Yeah,
At 6:30.
And then our meeting is the following day for.
do I report to the next?
Well, we're just gonna talk, if there's anything that comes up, like, and they may ask if there's any questions and you could just speak and just say you're part of Community Board 5 and you're one of the representatives for public safety on our committee and ask how we can help, just any data is important, anything that they can suggest or just even taking notes so we know what are like specific safety issues in different areas within our district that we can start addressing and help with.
Right.
Yeah.
We need
Thank you.
someone send us a link to that.
Yeah, Marisa has to send it, so, yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
do
Bud.
my
thank
best.
you,
Thank you.
thank you. And then the 13th precinct is in person, what day is that?
Oh, and
20th,
Oh, the 20th.
that's
January
the
20th.
January meeting, January 20th.
I would just go to it, but I'm actually not there. Yeah, 8 weddings in 5 months. Okay, anybody on not on public safety that's willing to do it, that might be in town on January 20th? All right, I'll get off that topic then. But I hope you understand, like, you guys understand the importance that this is one of our main subcommittees for our committee. And if we don't start getting information, we're not able to help. So we're not really serving as how we would like to serve on this committee. Okay. Upcoming for homelessness and mental health subcommittee. Who is assigned to shelters or who's on like a advisory board? You
But
are.
I haven't yet been connected.
Yeah,
How did I
yeah.
get connected?
Supposed to be.
So
but I don't
it's
know.
you three, right? And there's
Yeah.
been no connection?
No,
made?
is that coming through Marisa or?
I believe it's supposed to come from Marisa. I will speak to her again.
Okay,
She did update a list of active shelters within our district and she did make a list. Did I distribute that? If I did not, I will. Okay. I will. And then I know you three are specifically set to specific ones.
sure.
And then anybody else that's on the subcommittee can also look at the other shelters and, do outreach for that as well.
I mean, my sort of just thinking through, like, my vision would be if the three of us could, have an initial meeting, each do an individual like tour of the
Mhm.
place, whatever, then
That'd be
come back.
Awesome.
And then we can say, here's what they said their needs are, here's
Yeah.
what they said they're having issues with, whatever, that would be great. So
I think
we
fabulous,
just need
yeah.
to be put. in touch,
Sure.
that's all.
Okay.
We can also, if you
Talk to
send us
Lisa.
that list and there's other shelters, we can be or I can try to be proactive in reaching out to
Yeah.
another one. But yeah, first step would be talk to Marissa, because I've talked to her before and she said,
Okay,
I don't remember what she said, but it.
Okay.
She's like on it.
came
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah,
so-
she's on it.
It-
It's
yeah,
just
she-
like, so that's what I imagine. So
Yeah.
hopefully by that January meeting.
We
so what's
can-
that January?
again, like
28th?
January 28th, just to update, hopefully, if we
Right.
have anything, or even if
That we will
something
have
is
made a
on
visit.
schedule to make a visit
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's, what else?
That's the only one I want to go to is Newtown South, and Vermont, it always meets on the fourth Tuesday.
Right.
Okay, that's really all topics I wanted to talk about for the subcommittees. But we do have an upcoming meeting. I know it's only 2 weeks away, but it was that or make it January 29th, and I don't think anybody wanted that, so it got bumped to being 2 weeks apart, and then we don't have anything for 6 weeks. So we meet again in 2 weeks. I'll send out the email, but we're going to, the Manhattan Borough President's Office, Jesse Lang, who's Housing and Transportation and Policy Analyst, is going to be coming to discuss sheds.
Oh, great.
Won't be here.
Oh, no, this meeting is for you.
I know, but I won't be here. I'll be in Australia.
This
so
meeting
I won't
is for you.
We'll fill you in.
I'm serious. I'll be in Australia. I will not be able to join
Oh,
remotely.
Well-
It's just what it is.
We'll fill you in.
okay, we will fill you in. and
I'm
watch the
very
video.
bummed that that's happening on that day.
I'm
Oh.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's the date that they were available.
Will there be a video of it?
This is always.
Video of all of it.
Yeah, so you
Okay,
can go back
so
and watch the
I can
video.
watch the video.
Watch the video and we'll have correspondence
I'll
with
buy
them,
popcorn.
so. Yeah.
Or if you want to send questions.
Yeah, if you have questions ahead
Yeah,
of
I
time,
can do that.
send them, and I was actually gonna say that
To
too.
offer.
So.
That meeting, the 29th?
It's, no, that one's that's in 2 weeks. The 16th, with this committee has another meeting. There is a second thing put on the agenda that's, I'll have to send it out tonight. But the Community Advisory Board of Bellevue Hospital and Mental Health is going to be giving us a presentation and asking for us to write a resolution of support of their 2025-2026 budget. I will send you out some information on that as soon as possible, since it is only 2 weeks away. They have I guess a lobbying meeting in the beginning of February, so I couldn't put this at the end of January because we wouldn't have the resolution go through full board until after their meeting in February, because we would meet on February 11th and their meeting is before that. So we will do that. And if, for those that know, Renee will be presenting. She was the prior Bex chair for many years, and so she will be joining us and present to discuss the budget and the key points for the Community Advisory Board for Bellevue Hospital and Mental Health.
Is this the same issue we heard last year, which is they're also, they want like the law change in Albany? Remember that? Like,
Yes, I do. Yeah,
I thought that was with the Medicaid reimbursement.
yeah, that was
And they
in the
want the
Medicaid.
higher, is
Yes,
that
they
part
wanted
of
that
this or
gap.
that's?
No, I don't
different?
think
Okay.
so. It's more, I'm trying to, what her email said, because I have to get the
Okay,
information
so
from
this
her
is
too.
different.
It is different. So yeah, I will send that to give more information on that, but those will be the two things that we discuss at the next meeting. I will be doing that virtual as well, but it'll be a great meeting. I'm excited for this meeting. It's good information. And then following January 28th, we already have on the agenda for we have a representative from the LGBTQIA+ advisory committee to the New York Police Commissioner, who is going to be coming, who's going to be coming to speak and present. And then we may also have the street vendor project representative coming to speak to us there as well. So
Vendor?
street vendor project. So the 16th in 2 weeks, we need quorum. And likely need quorum on the 28th. We haven't had a lot of things that we've had to put in writing or have quorum for more than just informative components of this committee. But I do want to stress the times when we really do need quorum, which isn't very often for our committee. So please try to attend the next one. Any other new business? I want oh, let me share one more thing. Oh, no, go ahead.
Just, if anybody's interested in learning about the Flatiron District on Sunday, I have to.
Oh,
That's not
awesome.
new.
And Flatiron.
That's not new.
Oh, when he gives them,
Same,
when he gives them,
it's different every time.
it sure is. I'm sorry, Robert, go ahead. You can speak.
Playing here a week, aren't you?
Oh, Theo, oh, sorry, sorry, Theo, we're off public speaking now. Sorry, I thought it was Robert's hand. Okay, one more announcement. Melissa has agreed to become vice chair of the committee and thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
That's it.
Are we
That's
adjourned?
Adjourned.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.
What's the holidays to all of you? What's the police